after 3 p.m. Eastern. They have put out a tweet, and you referred to this, but let me read it. It says, Toronto Pearson is aware of an incident upon landing involving a Delta Airlines plane arriving from Minneapolis. Emergency teams are responding. All passenger and crew are accounted for, to the point that emergency teams are responding. We understand that Peel paramedics, having heard from them directly, that they are on scene with about 10 paramedic vehicles on the tarmac. They have said that there are 8 patients. The extent of the injuries unknown from that conversation, but I know, Mark, you were saying that what we now understand is that one of those patients is in hospital with critical injuries. The others perhaps are more minor injuries at this point. This was a plane that was going to turn around, going to be heading back to Minneapolis. That is obviously not happening right now because of there is this ground stop, and to the point that there are reports that this is a plane that has somehow flipped over. That is not something that we understand how that could have happened, but that is going to be, obviously, Mark, a huge source of investigation moving forward.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. I mean, just looking at this image that you've shown us here, Sarah, I've been a journalist for 20 years. I can't say I've covered many plane crashes, but just I think as a person and someone who's online every day, I can't say I've ever seen something like this. I wonder how something like this happens. Not saying that you would, but I mean,
But to your point, Mark, I mean, that's why there was some hesitation initially when that had to be verified, because it does seem, it is a rather incredible image to initially see. It does explain everything I've said in terms of the ground stop and the possible injuries and the fact that there might only be 8 injured patients. It's hard to say how many people were on board that plane that was coming from Minneapolis, but all passengers, according to Toronto Pearson, are accounted for, and as we understand from the paramedics, 8 people suffering degree of injury from this. I will say, based on that tail number, them being able to track where the plane had come from and where it was about to go, we can also tell you that the make of this, the plane, the model, it's a twin jet, a CRJ 900. That will sound familiar to some who have been paying attention to the news over the last couple of weeks. It's the same model aircraft, that twin jet, as the one that had the mid-air collision with the Black Hawk helicopter in Washington, D.C. And in which case, in that accident, there were no survivors. To this point, we're talking about injuries, not a case of fatalities, at least not yet, but we're watching it very closely in terms of what we might hear from paramedics on that.
It'd be interesting to see, Sarah, as well, the factor that the weather would play in a situation like this. Toronto was not immune to the winter weather that hit much of the